What are you talking about? Once they're on the field, all of this notion of I'm in it for myself, that's out the window.
Oh, is it?
Because they all want to win.
If they get their deal.
The number one reason you get paid equates to winning. You win, you get paid. Dak Prescott knows that. Jason Garrett understands that. All of these guys understand that. You can have great individual statistics, but you will bounce from team to team, and no one will you won't stick if you can't prove that you can win. We see it with Antonio Brown. He got released from the Steelers because they're like, you know what? We haven't won with them, so let's just let him go. Okay, somebody else will then pick you up. But right now, with the names that you mentioned, the Dallas Cowboys look like a pretty darn good team.
I might need to do the wings bet with you that he keeps talking about. I know Skip and Shannon bet Mountain Dew, right?
Right. No,
I'll bet some Dr. Pepper or something.
And you're Amari Cooper stretch.
Hey, he's waiting.
He ain't playing right now. That's such a reach.
He's sitting out.
That's such a. Even Rob had to look at you.
He don't want to play.
That's such a.
So why is Amari Cooper sitting out? He's just not even practicing at all. Hasn't practiced since August 2nd.
So there's something in football or in sport called injury.
Oh, yeah.
Where
I'm sure it's serious.
At this point in the season, the premature season that obviously means so much that Amari Cooper should be out there if you were the head coach, he's not playing or practicing because he's getting healthy.
Yeah.
Because there's something called the regular season that actually matters.
Greg, my question to you is this. Okay, say they don't get a deal done and they decide to play it out, and Dak struggles or is mediocre this year. Are you that sold that you would still say, okay, I'm still going to sign him? Or would that change your mind depending on what type of year he's having?
If there's no deal set in place before, let's say, week 2 or 3, and you see that he's struggling, now the leverage is back into the hands of the organization.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying to you, have you been convinced enough that even with a year to struggle, people struggle, people have off years. Have you seen enough that you still would say, despite the struggle, I'm going to sign him because he's my franchise quarterback. He's going to lead me to a Super Bowl?
I have seen enough.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
I have seen it personally. I've seen enough. When I weigh my pros and my cons, everyone wants to talk about, and I'm a receiver, his accuracy. Well, when I look at the accuracy of a quarterback, you have to have guys that are allowing you to get open.
He's still
creating some. He still misses throws, and he does hold on to the ball a little too long. But I think that's his discomfort with what he's first couple 3 years as route running. Now once he added Amari Cooper, we saw a completely different, confident Dak Prescott. Releasing the ball, getting rid of the ball, throwing the ball downfield. We hadn't seen that in Dak Prescott early in his career. Why? Because he didn't have the weapons. He didn't have the confidence in those guys that they were going to get open, that they were going to make the plays. So what does that require him to do? As a quarterback, you hold the ball too long. I played with a guy, Aaron Rodgers, that held the ball too long early in his career. That's just what you do when you haven't been out there. Let's not forget, this is year 4 for Dak Prescott. Yeah. We're making it seem like he's been this savvy veteran because he came in with that type of mentality, with that type of poise. So all of a sudden, we have this bar set that, you know what? He has to be Patrick Mahomes-esque. He has to be Aaron Rodgers. He has to be Tom Brady. No, he doesn't.
He has to be Dak Prescott.
He has to be Dak Prescott, and what they've seen is enough that will afford him to get that contract.
But the numbers say he has regressed since his first year. According to the Football Outsiders, he was the 3rd-rated quarterback in his rookie year. Remember, didn't make the mistakes. Then he fell back to 17th in his second year. Last year, Greg, I can't stress this enough, all the numbers, the matters down in distance and who the opponent was. He was the 26th rated quarterback in the NFL after Andy Dalton, Mitchell Trubisky.
Those are facts.
He was not very good. And Greg, I got to ask, is that defense is catching up to Dak Prescott in year 3 when there was no tape on him coming out and he kind of shocked everybody? Or is it, hey, they got a new offensive coordinator coming in and Kellen Moore, who was his former backup? There's just so many factors. I think it would be crazy for the Dallas Cowboys to cough up $30 to $35 million for a guy like Dak Prescott at this stage in his career.
So with all of that you're saying about him regressing, all quarterbacks regress. But early in their career, they have these lulls. these peaks and valleys. This is a 4th-round draft pick, a guy that we never suspected. The Cowboys never suspected that he would be who he is right now at this point, taking the position away from a Tony Romo who had been proven, who had kind of a roller coaster career anyway.
True.
We're looking at a Tom Brady right now who everyone is saying, oh, he's declining. We're looking at a Drew Brees who people are saying,
Tom Brady is
talking about Hall of Famers.
I understand who I'm talking about. But numbers from year to year vary. And so, but the number one thing that has to be consistent is who you are as a leader, your availability, and do I see the potential of progression? And that's what the Dallas Cowboys see in Dak Prescott. They see the trajectory going up. They don't see the arrow going sideways or down. They see it going up. Why? Because they formulated a personnel around him that is going to support what he provides and make him better. And then hope that he makes those guys around him better and it equates to win.
You always talk about, there's certain guys that always get that leadership thing, and most of the times because they don't have stats to support them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. Unquantifiable leadership because, availability.
Exactly, because we can't see the things that you're talking about. But my point is, even in leadership, you got to have talent. You could be the greatest rah-rah leader, but if you can't make those throws and you can't perform, doesn't your leadership get negated?
So now we're saying...
I'm asking you.
So now
I'm not saying he's not a leader.
I'm not, but I'm just saying... Talent also plays in on leadership, doesn't it?
Yes, what you do on the field definitely translates to how guys in that locker room view you as a leader and how much respect you earn. However, when you are the quarterback, it is just a given responsibility. It matters what you do and how you perform. But if you come into the huddle, you guys have to understand this. When a quarterback comes into the huddle, I don't care if he's a 7th-round draft pick or a 1st-round draft pick. When I see him come into that huddle and he demands the respect of the guys in there because of the way he calls the play and he talks to the guys around him, that lets me know I have something to work with. That there's a belief, not only in him, but that he's protruding and that he's conveying to the guys around him that I got this. I don't care what people are saying. I don't care what we've seen or what I just did the play before. I got you now.
Let me ask you, Rob. We keep talking about Dak winning a playoff game last year, okay? You think back to that Seattle game. The Seahawks lost that game. Dallas didn't win it. We think back to that. Brian Schottenheimer, one of the all-time awful offensive games called in maybe NFL playoff history in the last 10 years. It was so bad. Seattle lost that game.
They didn't let Russell Wilson throw the football at all.
It was unbelievable. Dak got lucky in that one. So let me move on to the Rams game. Was that even a close game? I can't believe I had bet on the Cowboys in that like a moron. They got smoked. They could not stop the run. Dak Prescott was ordinary. After that early touchdown pass to Cooper, he was ordinary. I didn't see a leader at all in the playoffs
And once they shut down the run with Ezekiel Elliott,
Dak couldn't win the game.
There was no way they were going to win that game.
What did they do to improve that offense in the offseason, Rob? They added a 35-year-old tight end in Jason Witten, who last year at this time was preparing to call football games in a booth. I just don't see the Dak Prescott leap that he's talking about. What am I missing?
What you're missing is experience. The greatest teacher in life is experience. That was his 2nd run at the playoffs. Last year, when the regular season was over, the requirement for Dak Prescott was, can he win a playoff game? You said you bet on him.
I did.
And you failed in the 2nd round of the playoffs.
Took the L.
But he absolutely got the first win that we all were saying he needed to get. There is a progression in sport. There is a progression at the quarterback position, and there is a progression in life. He's taking those proper progressions. I'm not saying Dak Prescott is going to be the top quarterback in all of National Football League this year, but he is going to be worth what the Dallas Cowboys are willing to pay him. Why? Because he's earned that value to that organization.
And all I'm saying is, if I'm the Cowboys, I take a wait-and-see approach.
I do, too.
I just want to wait a little longer, and I'm willing to pay the extra money for him to prove me wrong.
As long as you're willing to pay the extra
money at that point, but I want him to prove me, to erase the doubts, to not be the 26th ranked quarterback, to win me a football game when we don't have a running game, or win me a football game when our defense lets us down. I want to see him do those things, and then I say to myself, okay, I'm convinced. I'm just saying that there's still clouds, questions when it comes to Dak Prescott.
One real quick thing. I'm getting texts from friends here. I don't want to poo-poo the intangibles that he's talking about. Leadership does matter. The fact that Dak off the field kind of acts the role of a quarterback, right? He's not shotgunning beers at baseball games, okay? I like what I've seen from Dak as a leader off the field. He's not getting in trouble. Ezekiel Elliott's kind of been on that fine line. So I do want to say I like a lot of stuff about Dak, but Greg, when the numbers come down, Rob and I, we've seen them. They're not there for Dak Prescott.
I don't care what you've seen.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
I mean,
wow.
you guys make it seem like you're the decision.
Should we leave now?
You guys make like you're the decision makers. I'm glad Dak Prescott doesn't have to prove anything to you guys, and he's proven everything that he needs to prove to the Dallas Cowboys. Let me remind you, this is a 4th-round draft pick, and you talk about him needing to prove more. What did he prove in year 1?
Year 1 was years ago. Are you kidding me?
You're right.
What have you done for me lately?
You're right.
Greg
But what did he prove? Being a 4th-round draft pick to starting for the Dallas Cowboys and taking the job away from a Tony Romo, was that something that he was able to prove? That he was able to sustain that position? Okay, now you get rid of Tony Romo. Year 2, you don't have an Ezekiel Elliott. Everybody before Dak Prescott even had this success, we understand the trajectory of quarterbacks. They have a great year or not. They have a great year, and then year 2, everything kind of catches up to them a little bit because the film has been out. So now they have to really show us who they really are. Well, he didn't have Ezekiel Elliott for partial games in that season, and he faltered some. But then this past year, he does have Ezekiel Elliott. Then they acquire Amari Cooper. He continues to progress and now shows us everything that everybody was talking about was, you know what? Now that they got Amari Cooper, we're going to really see what Dak Prescott is. I doubted it, and then he proved me wrong.
And he still was the 26th ranked quarterback, even with the pieces you're talking about. That's what should be shocking and alarming to you, Greg, is that he didn't jump up to be a top 10 quarterback, and then you say he just didn't have the receiver you're looking for. The numbers, numbers never lie. And in Dak
Numbers do lie.
Not in Dak Prescott.
Numbers definitely lie. Numbers definitely lies, especially in the 4th quarter when you're down 30 and you're padding stats. Numbers lie.
Rob, he's pointing his pen 20 minutes into the show. I'm a little nervous here. All right, coming up next, guys. Did Antonio Brown, my guy, did he mishandle his helmet fiasco? We'll discuss that next.
I got you, AB.
Don't forget, you can check us out every day on the Fox Sports channel on Sirius XM. We'll be right back.